From this story, we understand why, despite Jacob's love for Rachel, her sons were not chosen by God to continue the Messianic covenant. The Bible is truly a profoundly honest book of faith. It doesn't mince words or cover up the mistakes made by the ancestors of the Israelites. Take, for instance, the life of Judah. The Bible is clear on how Judah's disgrace is recorded, detailing how Tamar deceived him by pretending to be a temple prostitute in her efforts to conceive. This might seem improper and even considered an act of adultery. But ironically, God chose a descendant from their actions, Perez, to continue the Messianic line. The Bible, which records the stories of the patriarchs of Israel in their raw reality, is indeed a brutally honest book. However, from this, we can draw a profound message of grace that no human is righteous, everyone has sinned, and God is the merciful forgiver. We can also discuss 1. Why did God choose the battered reputation of Judah instead of Joseph, the son of Jacob, whose personality was almost flawless, to be an ancestor in the Messianic lineage? 2. Similarly, there's a significant question. Why did the Messiah come from the line born to Bathsheba, David's former adulterous affair? Both questions actually share a common keyword, Teraphim.
Now Rachel had taken the Teraphim, and put them in the camel's saddle, and sat upon them. And Laban felt about all the tent, but found them not. Genesis 31-34.
Teraphim, Hebrew, teraphim, is a kind of carved artwork or statue, sometimes serving as a talisman or family idol, although in plural form. The term teraphim can also be used for a single idol. The noun teraphim comes from the Hebrew verb rapha, meaning to heal. Perhaps in ancient times, these idol statues were believed to bring healing or health to the families that kept them. In modern Hebrew, the word rapha, to heal, is still used, for example, referring to a doctor medical, Rof or Diherif. The God of Israel is also referred to as Yehovah Reed, Adonai Rafika, Adonai your healer. Teraphim were household god statues. These gods were used in private worship and might be connected to beliefs in healing and other divinatory practices. Some teraphim may have had human-like sizes and shapes, while others were likely much smaller, fitting into a woman's basket saddle. People sometimes sought signs from teraphim. Archaeological findings in Mesopotamia and surrounding areas indicate that the possession of teraphim statues played a role in determining who would inherit the family estate. According to a tablet found in Newsy, owning family idols in certain situations could entitle a son-in-law to go to court and claim the inheritance left by his deceased father-in-law. Considering this, Rachel might have reasoned that she was justified in taking the teraphim because her father had deceived her husband, Jacob. However, it is clear that the teraphim is an idol. In the lives of faithful families like Jacob's, there were still those who committed adultery by looking at other gods and did not entirely worship the true God. For example, Laban kept teraphim. Some interpretations suggest that Laban stored these teraphim in connection with family inheritance rights, but this interpretation seems weak. Tragically, Rachel, his beloved wife, got involved with these idols. In the story in Genesis 31, Laban's daughter Rachel appears to follow in her father's footsteps, placing trust in the teraphim and stealing them from her father without Jacob's knowledge. Laban accused Jacob of stealing his teraphim, and Laban was so eager to retrieve them that he chased Jacob for a 7-day journey. Jacob was entirely unaware of what Rachel had done, and there is no indication that Jacob ever tried to use the teraphim to secure an inheritance from Laban's sons or worship them. It was Rachel who did it. Jacob never used idols. In the end, the Teraphim were discarded when Jacob buried all foreign gods near Shechem. From this story, we understand why, despite Jacob's love for Rachel, her sons were not chosen by God to continue the Messianic covenant. Rachel faced discipline from God, even having a short lifespan, which is also connected to the ownership of Teraphim household idol statues that God disapproved of. Because of the Teraphim incident, Rachel's sons were deemed unfit to lead Israel. God chose the Messianic line from the line of Judah, Leah's son. Joseph, the son born to Jacob and Rachel, had an almost flawless personality and was the best among his 11 brothers. Interestingly, Jacob gave the birthright to Joseph's descendants, particularly to his son Ephraim. However, ironically, towards the end of Jacob's life, he gave the weight of authority to Judah. Thus, Judah was chosen to be the ancestor of the Messianic line. Lord Jesus was born from the lineage of Judah. Judah made many mistakes, including betraying Joseph and committing adultery with his daughter-in-law, resulting in the birth of twin sons Perez and Zerah. Through the line of Perez, the great King David was born. It is a fact that Michal, David's wife, had Teraphim among her possessions. This implies that Michal was not wholehearted toward God, and suggests that David either didn't know about his wife's Teraphim or tolerated it, because she was the daughter of King Saul. From here, we can draw a parallel that both Rachel and Michal had Teraphim, implying that both women committed spiritual adultery. Turning away from God by worshiping other gods, apostasy, is spiritual adultery or defilement. This term can be connected with verses describing that God has a nature of jealousy.
And the Lord said unto Moses, Behold, thou shalt sleep with thy fathers, and this people will rise up, and go a-whoring after the gods of the strangers of the land, whither they go to be among them, and will forsake me, and break my covenant which I have made with them. Deuteronomy 31 minutes and 16 seconds.
All activities and temptations to go after other gods will provoke God's wrath and jealousy. Note that the Messiah did not come from the sons born to Michal, because Michal, similar to Rachel, had been contaminated by the ownership of idol statues, Teraphim. Therefore, both of these women were not allowed by God to continue the Messianic covenant line. Although Michal was David's first wife, God chose David's son born from Bathsheba, namely Solomon. This sufficiently indicates that God does not tolerate any idol,